right, welcome back, and thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. It is still about the state of the nation. We're interrogating the position of the country, and as far as the elections are concerned, there are many people who are questioning if we have ever thought of the stability of this country. We're just a few years shy from the next general elections. Apparently, Kenya has one of the most expensive elections, but also we're looking at the atmosphere as it is right now. But there's something that is always very, very important every Wednesday night. We take a look at back in history. The front page of the Standard paper on this same day, of course, I think that was several years ago. The Kenyatta oath that shook Kenya. We're looking at back in history, and that paper you're seeing there was dated, of course, December 18th, 2016, and the Kenyatta oath that shook Kenya. New book by Reverend John Gatu reveals secret of the oathing ceremonies at the president's home, meant to stop other tribes from ascending to the presidency. That was the key headline on that day, making it quite significant as it equally speaks to the political atmosphere in the country today. Also, why Raila Uhuru are fighting for Coast and Western. Now we have a conversation around Mount Kenya region. And of course, the common, not really good joke, do not touch the mountain. Back then, it was about the coast and the Western. Well, that's it for Back in History. But of course, I have my guests here in studio who are also just speaking to the current affairs, the status quo, looking at the IEBC Reconstitution, a conversation that just did not start last evening or last night, all the way from last year. We have seen different selection panels, pushed forward, political leaders saying we're not satisfied, we're dissatisfied with this, with that person, etc. Now the common mwananchi is saying, so for how long are we going to play this game? Are you going to, of course, delay this, and then the judiciary will come in again and make it a little more complicated, and then the IEBC, once reconstituted, say we do not have funds, or you're delaying our funds, among other things. But what do the key political voices say on this matter? We have the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki's voice, among others, the Kalonzo, the Wiper Party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, and others who spoke to this matter. Let's listen in before we come back to the guests.
The parties that have taken this matter to court to try and reach an out-of-court settlement so that we can unblock that process and complete the reconstitution of the IEBC as soon as possible.
This is a William Ruto strategy to make sure that there is no IEBC. And therefore continue even the matter, very important matter of the independent electoral boundaries. You see, there was a time limit within which we should now come up with a review of the boundaries.
We are calling for the constitution of IEBC urgently and as of yesterday. Ndio waanze kupanga mikakati ya uchaguzi.
Esther Waringa, President of the PSG, thank you for creating time to be here. You've heard the politicians. They all have very strong stands on this matter. All of them speaking in one voice. Let's just have an IEBC that's functional. Pretty much, that's it.
With political goodwill, yes. But unfortunately, we reign in a country that is highly politicized, and actually listening to them, it's like no one who wants to listen to the other, or no one who wants to be seen like they're
I'm sorry, I might have to interject so that we can check on your sound. Right. They'll quickly work on that. In the meantime, let me just hear from Omondi Koyo, who is also joining us, the SG of the Liberal Party. And when we hear liberal thinking, Liberal Party, Kenyans are anticipating that then you're not thinking in the conservatory way of how politics has been running, the political prejudice. Is that what it is really? Because either way, you're in the Azimio party. How different are you as far as this matter and the IEBC is concerned?
We are different. That is why today as National Liberal Party, we are trying our level best as an institution of governance to ensure that we respect the rule of law, that which is provided for in the Kenyan Constitution, and that which is provided for various legislative acts of parliament. You know, a typical Kenyan politician is one who really finds propaganda and those things that are exciting at the expense of what is factual. You've seen politicians roaming around this country, running helter-skelter. They are deceiving the public. They are lying to the public about the Reconstitution of IEBC.
Well, what is the lie?
The lie.
You're saying they're lying. What is the lie?
Oh, of course. They are lying because, you know very well, as I earlier on stated, Kenyans need to understand what is it that is holding the country at ransom to this end.
Right.
I stated earlier that prior to the NADCO bill being presented in Parliament and its subsequent legislation and ascension, we had what you call the NADCO team, which sat at Bomas. And part of the irreducible minimums that came from Azimio was that we wanted an expanded selection panel team that will encompass and bring all political players on the table. That was granted. So it therefore defeats my understanding, and sometimes it baffles me to the bone marrow when I see political leaders lying that there is a specific people who are actually holding the country at ransom, yet they know pretty well that the selection panel as currently constituted, that is breathing life out of the IEBC Amendment Act of 2024. The Principal Act, Schedule, the Principal Act, first paragraph of Schedule 2 actually stipulates that we shall have 9 selection panelists. As I earlier stated, the first one is the Interreligious Council of Kenya. They had 2 representatives. We've got Law Society of Kenya. We've got ISPAC. We've got Political Parties Liaison Committee. Now, where the problem is under Political Parties Liaison Committee. The Political Parties Liaison Committee is a nominating body that actually, in the previous act that was actually thrown out by Justice Lawrence Mugambi, initially had 1 slot. But after political negotiations and different interests, they were added an additional 2 slots. These 2 slots actually now went to majority party and minority party. Now, in the Political Parties Liaison Committee, we had 1 representative that was supposed to be elected from non-parliamentary parties. That is what the law reads. If you read part 2B, that is the reading of the law. Number 2 was the majority party, that is now the Kenya Kwanza. So the Kenya Kwanza coalition was supposed to hold an election and elect one of a representative to sit at the panel. The last cluster was Azimio, or what you call the minority party or minority coalition. That is the reading of the law.
All right.
Now, on the 26th of July, 2024, all registered political parties congregated at Machakos. And all the political parties were clustered in their respective groups. Kenya Kwanza government, or the coalition, which is the majority, as per the reading of the law, had 18 political parties under that umbrella.
Okay.
They congregated by themselves under the leadership and supervision of the Office of Register of Political Parties and IEBC. They elected one of their own, who is within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. In that category, a gentleman by name Nicodemus More was elected. Election results were declared. Everyone left the voting venue happy and satisfied. Under the non-parliamentary parties, there are around 49 political parties. There was election. We had around 4 candidates in that category. Election winner was declared. Now, in Azimio, we have 23 political parties.
All right.
And actually, it is Azimio that is holding the country at ransom.
That's where I was going. Okay.
It is nobody else other than Azimio.
You are in Azimio.
And specifically, not myself,
Your
but
party?
the Wiper Party.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
and I expected that you ought to have actually invited the Wiper Party leader here so that we can actually tell the country the truth. Because we are almost crossing over to the new year and we need to cross the new year as truthful people. There is no need of actually moving around the country, flummoxing the members of the public, lying to them time and again that it is not me, it is so and so. The truth of the matter is, and we've got documents to prove this, prior to election, the President of the Republic of Kenya assented to the amended IEBC Act of 2024 at the KICC. Prior to the amendment or prior to the ascension of that bill, the Wiper Party had clandestinely submitted the name of Ambassador Kuki Muli to the Office of the Register of Political Parties. On the 24th, before we even went for the election, the Register of Political Parties, yes.
And you're saying you can substantiate this information?
Yes,
I can get those documents for us?
Yes.
All right.
The Register of Political Parties wrote to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition through Mheshimiwa Junet Mohamed.
Okay.
And told him, you cannot handpick a candidate to represent Azimio in the selection panel of IEBC. The law, as stated under IEBC Amendment Act Cap 7C, states that you must subject this process to a free, fair, and a competitive process.
Right.
That is what they didn't want. So, after all this, we then convened as Azimio.
All right.
And we did say, because the letters come from the Office of the Registrar, and they have even advised us that we cannot handpick a candidate, we must therefore have our own internal organization and ensure that we either have a consensus on one single candidate, or we subject ourselves into a competitive process and come up with one candidate. To them, they didn't want that competitive process. They then agreed that it is Kuki Muli, a faction of them. On the 26th of July, 2024, the Register of Political Parties did a communication to all registered political parties.
Okay.
And told all political parties that we are going to congregate in Machakos. And you are going to elect IEBC selection panelists in various clusters. And she did clarify which clusters each political party belonged. National Liberal Party, a constituent member of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition,
all right,
was categorized under Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, which is the minority coalition, according to the reading of the law. Thereafter, we had an election. Dr. Augustus Kialumuni of the National Liberal Party,
all right,
was resoundingly elected with 16 votes against Kuki Muli, who got a paltry 7 votes. How do you even run away from that? How do you replace a win over someone who has actually won in a free, fair, and competitive election with a loser?
So what you're saying, however, because I want to hear from Esther Oringa, who is also listening through, and other Kenyans as well, because as this is happening within, and what you're doing is you're confirming quite a number of reports, including the Africa report, that says that at the center of the deadlock is a disagreement within the Azimio la Umoja coalition over the coalition's representative in the commission's selection panel, talking about what happened in August, where they're saying the Azimio appointed Augustus Muli, and some are now saying this is a Muli derby, if you'd put it that way. I want to come back to you because we want to hear how things are unfolding, and it's not very entertaining for Kenyans to hear what Omondi is saying here, that number one, politicians, according to him, are going out telling lies. And number two, he's also confirming that there are politicians who are now holding the entire republic hostage. Esther.
I agree with you. And remember, Anki, about 2-3 weeks ago, we had the bill to extend the term of parliament, of president, and the entire actually elected representatives to 7 years instead of 5. Are you reading in between the lines, even as he presented the political confusion? And I think for the longest time, politicians have held this country at ransom. And I think this country does not belong to 10 or 15 or 20 politicians. This country belongs to even that child who was born today, the 50 million plus Kenyans in this country. And for this reason, we cannot continue complaining every day because of politicians who have been there since time immemorial, since 1963, who attempt every other electoral period to hold this country back. And this actually is the climax, because we've never gotten to this level whereby until now the mandate of IEBC is already overtaken by time, because right now the IEBC should be preparing or should be doing the continuous registration of citizens. And because recently, not recently, actually, even now, I have already announced my bid for presidency, and Kenyans know that they're asking me, Madam, where can we go to register as voters? Because first of all, I'm getting into presidency so that I bring this Kenya Bila Uchaguzi into reality, because these elections have been a thorn in the flesh in the country, including, remember, 2007, 2008, and then we had the Kriegler Commission. Nothing has been implemented from the Kriegler report. Why? Because of political interest. Because if we take some of the provisions of the Kriegler report, implement them, then some politicians will not maybe get their interests taken care of. And in this regard, we are supposed right now, as we talk, to be having the continuous registration of citizens as voters as one of the key mandates of IEBC. Right. The regular revision of voters register. Right now, Anki, as we talk, the register that we used in the general elections, we could be having about probably 2 to 3 million people who do not qualify to be in that register. Others are dead. Others are probably, many reasons, many reasons as to why we should and we must do an overhaul revision of the register. That seems now to be overtaken by time. Delimitation of boundaries was supposed to be done actually last year, March. This did not happen. Why? Because of all these political games. And before I proceed, I would request and request the political class of this country that this country belongs to 50 million plus Kenyans. Right. And a time has come. And I think this season, we are going to learn lessons. This season is going to teach the political class that Kenya is bigger than all of you. Because, Anki, if this does not work this time, and especially the constitution of IEBC, Kenyans are going to force their way into getting their decisions done in this country. Did you see Syria? Have you seen Syria? Did you see Bangladesh? And many other countries where democracy seems to be on its way to the pit right now? Kenya is headed the same direction, that the democratic processes in Kenya seems to have been captured, what we talk about state capture, that we, 10 politicians, can be able to hold everything at ransom because we have political interest to extend the term of the presidency, the term of governors and senators and whoever else to 7 years. And that's why all this is happening. Nothing else, no other reason. And because the bill could not see the light of day, I had some other Kenyans saying, are we going to extend 7 years or are we going to stop this government right now, 2 years after elections? But really, all this confusion. Yeah, so you understand exactly, Kenyans understand what is happening. So what I'm saying is that IEBC again is supposed to facilitate the observation, monitoring and evaluation of general elections, and another one that is very, very important, the monitoring of compliance of registration of candidates and political parties. Right now, many people are going to the ORPP, registering parties, but we don't have an IEBC. See the level of confusion that Kenyans are in. And I share, and actually, even those Kenyans who are aiming to take up various positions, they are also confused. All right. Because they don't know exactly what they're supposed to do, because, of course, the IEBC that is supposed to oversight the streamlining of political party systems and all that, working together with the ORPP and all that, is not being taken care of. Okay. So my concern is, where are Kenyans in the entirety of these games? And where is Wanjiku? Where? Let me run away from. Where is the voter? Where is the voter? Forget about Wanjiku. Where is the voter in all this? Let me ask Omondi to respond to that. Okay. Because as we're looking at the Muli Derby, and all those who are talking about, it's nothing to do with IEBC amendment, the Amendment Act, Elections Act 2023. It's all about the 2024. There's a lot of back and forth. And even because someone would ask, so what is the way forward with what is happening now within the Azimio coalition? What is the way forward? Is this going to be settled? What does it look like? What is the real outlook of the situation within the Azimio coalition, and as far as this agreement is concerned? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? What is the plan so that we can move forward as a country?
First of all, it is important to clear the air and inform Kenyans that the bill that was thrown out by Justice Lawrence Mugambi on Friday is completely inconsequential in as far as the Reconstitution of IEBC is concerned. Remember, that was the bill of IEBC Amendment Act of 2023, which had generated unnecessary political heat, and Azimio had rejected it together with other Kenyans, and Senator Okiya Omtata had gone to court. So it does not in any way affect the amended IEBC Act of 2024.
You do realize that there are political voices out here who are putting the blame essentially on the judiciary based on this same bill that you're talking about?
The bill that I'm talking about, and I can also add my voice into the debate,
yes,
and where I can also squarely blame the judiciary, is as to why I had last time the Honorable Supreme Court Judge Justice Lenaola complaining why a faction of the political class can hold the whole country at ransom. Yet, it is at the discretion of the judiciary to ensure that they expeditiously hear cases and determine a record time so the country can move forward. For us, when the Wiper Party, through their Kokimuli, decided that they wanted to challenge the election results that were validly declared in the presence of the IEBC electoral officials and IEBC and Office of Regional Political Parties, since to this end they have not actually disputed the process, because you remember the former Justice David Maraga did say an election result is as good as the process. We had a very good election process. Why do you participate in an election? Then when you lose, you start changing the rules of the game midstream. For Wiper, they thought that it was oppressive, that nobody else should even come close to that IEBC election panelist unless it is their own representative. That is why when they agreed to go for an election, in Azimio la Umoja, we had 4 candidates. Wiper managed to convince all other candidates, including the Jubilee candidate, the Martha Karua candidate, to step down in their favor. It is only National Liberal Party candidate, Dr. Augustus, who refused to step down in favor of Wiper candidate. When we went for an election, she was defeated. After defeating her, the names were then submitted to Parliamentary Service Commission for an onward transmission to the President and for gazettement. But the law requires that the political parties liaison committee should produce selection panelists who are gender compliant.
Right.
But when Wiper had that the list was not gender compliant, and remember, it was not the prerogative, it was not an obligation to the Azimio cluster to produce the gender card. It was the responsibility of all the 3 clusters. The gender card could have come either from the non-parliamentary, or it would have come from Kenya Kwanza, or it would have come from Azimio. So when we defeated them, then they ran to Parliament and told the Parliamentary Service Commission that it is us, Azimio, who are supposed to produce the gender issue. That then prompted the court case at the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal. At the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal, the judge made a ruling in a record time, 21 days. They had the case very quickly because they knew the agency as to which the IEBC ought to be reconstituted. In 21 days, when the judge delivered their ruling, they said there is no way you can guarantee a gender-compliant selection panelist in a free competitive election. Imagine that bunge, even parliamentarians, they cannot even produce that sensitive list. Thereafter, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, with his Wiper Party and Kokimuli, proceeded to the High Court. And we are asking them, why then do you proceed to the High Court, yet you lost in an election, you've not disputed the election results, and the court have even affirmed that actually you lost, and you should accept the election results and allow the process to continue. They proceeded to the High Court.
So we have to wait for the courts then?
Now, after they proceeded to the High Court also agreed that they lost. After the High Court also agreed that they lost, then the High Court made another unheard of error. They were telling National Liberal Party candidate who won that even though you defeated Kokimuli, but you contested in a wrong category. You see, the candidate did not choose which category to contest in. In that vetting panel, there were IEBC legal representatives. There were Office of the Registrar of Political Parties legal representatives. And there were political party leaders representatives who vetted all the candidates and cleared them. And you know, after that, when they realized that they had already lost on the gender card, they now started pulling this lazy card that, you are not parliamentary party. If you read the law states, part 3, minority, coalition, or minority party. When you talk about minority coalition, it is Azimio. When you talk about Azimio, Azimio is a corporate body of 23 registered political parties. It therefore means anybody within Azimio La Umoja Kenya coalition can stand for that election. So as a result,
yes,
we ended up at the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
And at the Court of Appeal, I am actually very much disappointed. And when I heard Justice Lenaola complaining that it is Azimio holding the country at ransom this far, I agree to him to some extent. But again, I disagree with him. Because it is the judiciary that ought to have actually empaneled the 3-judge bench to hear the case and determine it as fast as possible. As we speak right now, the bench has not even been constituted.
Interesting. Now, I want us to come back to this conversation because even as you're speaking, we have analysis here, and seemingly the Wiper Party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, is even gone further to claim that the government is using the National Labour Party's Augustus Chalo Muli to frustrate the process through a case that was filed at the Court of Appeal. I want to come back to that conversation. Is the government using you?
You know, if you want to...
I'll take a break, but it's a question I'll ask you when I come back.
Okay.
Because we want to clarify all these things in the WhatsApp groups that is being said that could be confusing the system and Kenyans. No need to panic. That's not what we sell here. We need the facts, and those facts will inspire the fun. My guests are still in studio. We take a very short breather. The conversation continues. Where exactly is the truth? What exactly is the problem? Can we have the IEBC functional already? We'll be right back after this break.